This is a Play Your Way Network presentation. Get the full story at PlayLifeYourWay.com. In a world where comics, movies, games, rumors, and Kardashians come at you 24/7, three champions will rise to defend you from wasting precious time, money, and emojis. BK, Nate, and Derreck will show you how to do it the player way.
Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, with all due respect, this is your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you understand how to curate your life and media and entertainment
The player way.
And I never do this thing alone. But first, before I get on with introducing my co-captains, I got to give it up for our official sponsor of each and every episode of the Player Way podcast. No, it's not the Play Your Way Network, which also is the producer of the Play Your Way podcast, but it is Agency Cartel official comfort clothing for grind time. When it's grind time, it's time to get your nine tails on. When you're trying to put the nine tails cloak on, when you're trying to hit it, when you're trying to trip the life fantastic, when you're trying to board the Starship Fantasy, and you want to do life
the player way.
Go on agencycartel.com, order a couple t-shirts, and that's how it goes. You definitely helping fund the Play Your Way podcast and the Play Your Way Network when you do that. But again, moving on forward with my scrumptiolescent cast, my co-captains, Derreck.
That's me, Derreck, the one and only. I am still corrupting that TX system. You already know. Check me out.
Corrupting the system. DTX 214-972-369. Well, 469.
Damn dirty fine.
Exactly. And Nate, who is not here this week, but he is always here in spirit.
There
you go. Exactly. There you go.
That's me.
I remember that one time when we left him off and he was like, "Oh, you were waiting for just that?"
It was so perfect. So perfect.
But ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, thank you for coming back to the Play Your Way podcast. It is your weekly Blitzcast to help you understand how to get your entertainment digested
the player way.
So if you want to know exactly what to do, just sit back, relax, listen, and we're going to kill it. What you been up to this week, brother?
Man, I've been, I'm waiting for Netflix to start promoting us and start giving us a sponsorship because I've got to be honest, they're stepping up their game. They've been having a lot of good original series comes out. There is an article at theplayyourwaynetwork.com where I did stumble across a good little Gearhead show to watch to supplement my downtime between the Grand Tour. That's called Fastest Car. That is out there. But realistically, they've been hitting those hurt bombs. I took a walk down. Even though I'm not super looking forward to this movie coming out this summer, Ocean's 8, I took a walk down Ocean's 11, 12, and 13 they're all on Netflix, all three of them. And I was just like, man, if anything has me convinced between him and Marty Bird, I think I could run the game. You know what I mean? Like just seeing a plan come together, which reminds me, just A-Team style, just seeing that just brings back those good memories. You know what I mean? Where you're just
good times, man.
Yeah,
good
where
times.
You're hearing a musical score and you're just like on the edge of your seat, and you're just like just seeing that type of film. It's just not out there these days. You know what I mean? The musical score is trap music. I was just saying, just Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11.
Oh, Ocean's 11. Okay, yeah.
I was saying I'm getting
11,
prepped for Ocean's 8 because Priscilla had not seen any of the Oceans. She never knew what Danny Ocean was about.
There we go. There you go.
So
okay.
I bet you're like, why? All right, Derreck, I know you've seen these movies. What made you go back and watch these again? It's because I had to educate. The spousal
Yeah,
education.
Ocean's 12 is definitely the weakest of them. But Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 13 are really, really, really good films.
Absolutely.
And you can tell that they're setting up for Ocean's 8, 9, and 10, which will lead you then to 11, 12, and 13.
Yes. And when I went back,
set up for 14 at some point with with the men and the women combined. So, I mean, we just gave you the whole
that's the foresight
plan for the next 10, 15 years. That is the universe of the Ocean's franchise. So that's what's going down when everybody's old and gray Ocean's 14, I expect to be a bunch of old people.
Greater.
They're probably going to age themselves intentionally. You know what I mean?
Ocean's 14 versus The Expendables 9.
Because I think she's supposed to be Danny Ocean's sister, is what I think it is.
Oh, okay. All right.
In Ocean's 8.
I thought
a new trailer came out
Yeah.
in today. Well, this weekend. I just actually am fresh off seeing
fresh out.
Rampage.
Fresh out.
Fresh out of seeing Rampage, and that's a great transition into that. Right before Rampage came on, there was a new trailer for Ocean's 8. I've not been excited for this film up till then, but they did mention Danny Ocean's name in this trailer. So it kind of gives you like, oh, so it is tied into the same universe.
Yep.
So that's what's going on there. I believe she is Danny Ocean's sister, and she was a part of that major job that put him in jail at the beginning of Ocean's 11, I think, is what's going down. This may be a prequel to all of that, is what I'm thinking as well.
You could one
would make
say
sense
that
in
your
the
thought
sequence.
process is a conspiracy theory? Would you say?
I mean, I guess it would qualify as a
It's more so.
conspiracy.
It's a logical theory. It's a logical conspiracy
But
theory.
what if? But what if? It's
Shout
a
out to Nate.
conspiracy.
Eat it all up, Nate.
Shout out to Nate. Yeah,
That's a
definitely,
great
I
idea.
think
That makes the
is
most
my
sense.
conspiracy theory for
That
this
makes most
episode.
sense. 8, yeah, lead right up to 11, and
then again, like I said, and then if you exactly, there you go. So not only is it 8, 9, and 10 kind of a sequence for the number of people on their team, but it's also got to do with it being a prequel to the other one. So that's what I believe it's going to be.
Exciting.
And you heard it here, right here on
The Player Way.
So you
podcast,
said you
indeed.
saw that before the number 1 movie, this
Rampage.
weekend. All right.
Beat it up like Rampage.
Hey,
Rampage. I saw both. I actually saw 3 films this week.
3. all right.
After you guys.
So you saw the top 3.
Had that. I actually still have not listened to y'all's review of
Okay.
A Quiet Place yet, because I had to watch all of these dang on films. Hollywood definitely is taking my money, but luckily I one-upped them because I have Movie Pass, so
Yes.
that's what's going on there. So they was trying to ask me for all this money to go and maintain the system, and I had to shut them down.
That's right,
Exactly.
man. That's
So-
the best way to do it.
Exactly. So A Quiet Place I saw. I'm going to go back and listen to y'all's review. I do
Okay.
want to give, before we go into Rampage and Truth or Dare, I do want to button that one up so we can move on. A Quiet Place.
These are the top
everybody
3
else on the
movies from
podcast
this
saw
weekend.
it.
So
My initial thoughts is a lot of plot holes. It's good. A lot of plot holes, though. The biggest plot hole of it all is that apparently all of the newspapers in the world figured out what's wrong and what to beware of, and yet no one figured out that noises hurt them as well.
So you mean to tell me that the world had the wherewithal to figure out that these creatures, that sound is what attracts them, but they never thought to turn it up to 11. They never thought.
And second plot hole is high pitched sound, which I guess what they're trying to say. At first, I was like, so high pitched sound is what kills them, but I don't think that's what it is. What it is it's a frequency feedback caused by their system.
And
so
probably
what it
amplifying
is
it.
they output a sonar like high pitched sound to locate people, to echolocate them because they don't have eyes. And if that sound is like fed back to them and to their eyes, it hurts, or their ears, it hurts them.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have to kind of. I think they're protected when they keep their heads closed.
Yeah.
But when they open their heads up, that noise can
extremely
hurt them
sensitive.
really bad. But it can't kill them, which is the other plot hole. Regular guns can kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean to tell me our military got beat by a bunch of flesh
They don't have
animals?
They don't have any suppressors, man, in the military or the planet at all. You know what I mean? Like,
Or no one thought to throw off a bunch of fireworks and then encircle them with shotguns and just shoot them?
these are
It
sound.
was
This
just
is
weird.
sound reasoning. Sound reasoning.
Or sound reasoning. I like that. I like
Thanks, man.
sound reasoning. Huh? What was that noise?
Yes, perfect.
There's a bunch of those in this movie. And then they went by the babbling brook to go talk. And that's, if noise attracts these things, then wouldn't they be hanging out by
By the
in case you're
feeding
one of those people
source?
says, well, but they're nocturnal though. Yeah, but they killed the old man in the middle of the daytime. They killed the son in the middle of the daytime. Yeah, where the major kills happened was like in the daytime.
And I can't even sign off on them being nocturnal because it doesn't even matter for them being nocturnal at all. Like that, I can't even like as you'll hear with Nate and I. We were really excited. We were fresh off the movie, really excited for. And one of the things, now I've had some time to retrospect this. I think I really appreciated how silent the movie, the theater was. Yes. It allowed me to actually enjoy the movie and be more tense. It put me in the moments with the movie. As you always say, find something in a movie that you can connect with. And me holding my breath with them, that made me connect with it. Yes. That probably intensified it.
Now that's an experience, and it's a bit of a gimmicky film. So that's one of the biggest problems with this film. It's the blessing that they cashed in on, but it's also the curse as well. So the curse of this film is that it has no replay value. Once you know once you know the magic trick of the film, there's no replay value. And Signs is exactly the same.
Signs, the same thing.
This and Signs
Sixth
are like
Sense.
the same film.
Exactly.
It's the exactly. It had that M. Night Shyamalan. What would have made this film a lot better is if it connected with and I even texted Nate
Absolutely.
at the very they look a lot like the Cloverfield monsters.
Absolutely.
So I was like, is this a Cloverfield film? Because if it was, it would have made it even better.
It could have been just another one.
Anyway, I think John Krasinski, for it being a directorial, I won't say it's a directorial debut to him, because it's possible he did other things, but for a big screen thing, I think he did a great job. And I think for what it is, it's going to be great. Is it going to win any awards? No. Is it the best film of 2018? Nowhere close. Because there's two films I'm going to talk about on this podcast that are even better. First up, Truth or Dare. Blumhouse's Truth or Dare
Truth or Dare. Oh, break it down for me, man, because I'm excited to hear your take on this.
This is the horror episode, so I was excited to go see this film. Blumhouse's Truth or Dare is a true horror film. Some people may believe that A Quiet Place is a horror film, and I would say it is. Because of the bathtub scene, that right there makes it a horror, those moments where you're holding your breath
thriller.
You're wondering what's going to happen. No, that's not a thriller. Like, where you're worried somebody's about to die. There's a high body count, you know what I'm saying, in the film. You're at any moment you can die. There's jump scares, and there's a big bad that is going to get you. That's a horror film. Yeah. So it hits all of those notes. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that A Quiet Place doesn't hit those notes. It hits those notes. But Truth or Dare is a true return to horror. In my opinion, and nothing I'm going to say is going to be spoiler, because these films don't have anything that is gimmicky in that it won't ruin the movie for you, and you can still rewatch the movie. There's stuff in this film that makes you want to rewatch it and see if there was something that you missed. So Truth or Dare, made by Blumhouse Films, which they've kind of been making some stuff on Netflix and independent films here and there, but this is like their foray into doing something a little bit more. And Derek, this might be the new Final Destination, bro. It's got some moments in there where it feels just like the first Final Destination.
Okay.
Like, there's a character in there who's afraid to be around people, just like the main character of Final Destination. Throughout the film, they're trying to figure out how they can beat this thing. There's all these different theories, and meanwhile, this thing is coming after them. And it's essentially, like it says, it's Truth or Dare. It's about Truth or Dare. Some kids. It's a cautionary tale, like most. The best horror films are cautionary tales, things that help teach us lessons. If you remember back in history, the original, is it Grimm's fairy tales?
Of course,
the ones that used to keep you when your parents tucked you in at night. There was an oral tradition of telling you these old stories like Cinderella and stuff like that kind of helped you learn about the world around you and stuff like that. And over time, Disney has kind of sweetened them up with tons of sugar so you can't taste the salty, sour, bitter pieces of it. This is that bitter cautionary tale that teaches you one lesson. While you're young, don't do stuff just because you feel like you only live once, because you can shorten your lifespan. by doing something stupid. So these kids go to the main character is this girl who is supposed to be doing Habitat for Humanity for her spring break. She's a goody type of female who wants to get into a good school and all that stuff, and her best friend helps her get out of going on her Habitat for Humanity thing, and instead goes on their last spring break before they graduate to Mexico. And they go to Mexico and they drink too much, and they have this awesome week at spring break. None of this is ruined the film. This is like just the opening.
You're good, yeah.
And they this girl meets a cute guy at a bar, and she decides to drink with him and get away from her friends. And at the end of the night, when the bar is closing, this last call, they're like, "Man, we don't want to go to bed yet. Yeah, we got to fly out tomorrow, but man, it's too early. Let's do something. Let's live it up. It's our last night here in Mexico." And this guy's like, "I know a place we can go." And he takes them across town, and there's no real bar. It's just this old church. And they go into this old church, and they play a game of Truth or Dare, and the game of Truth or Dare follows them all the way home. Like Final Destination,
no,
at any time, you can get a phone call that says, Truth or Dare.
Oh, and you gotta play.
You can be walking by graffiti art on the wall, and all of a sudden the letters move around and say Truth or Dare. You could be walking down the street with your earphones in, and all of a sudden the song says, Truth or Dare. And you're like, what? What's going on? And if you ignore the Truth or Dare, it gets louder and louder until it's right in your face, like, pick. And if you choose not to pick, it possesses your body and kills you.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
If you refuse to play, so you gotta play.
You gotta play.
And just when you think you figured out how to play the game, the rules change upon you. And there is a method to it. Like, that's what I love about it. There's a method to the madness.
Okay.
There's rules to the game that are being, and the concept that I won't give away of how this game works is something that is age old, but it's a twist on that force of nature that death was in what do you call it? In
Final, what you're just talking about?
Final Destination.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, like death was in Final Destination, but it didn't talk to you.
Yep.
In this, whatever this force of nature is, it talks to you. And it's like, it lets you know. Like, at one point, this girl says something like, "Guys, this game isn't fucking around. It is smart." And it possesses somebody and says, "Yes, thank you for that compliment." It's like, okay. And while you're at it, Truth or Dare. It's like,
by the way.
It like learns, it knows everything about you, and it explains how it does it. It's so good. It was way better than I expected. Out of 5 stars on a quick review, I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
I felt like that might be too high, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's very well executed, and it leaves an end open for it to be a sequel. And I hope there are more of these. I hope they move them. I like that it's at spring break, though, but I kind of wish that it would be around that Halloween time, kind of like with Saw, but it has that feel like they could do this over and over again. And the way the film ends, it's bold and it's awesome. So anyway, a twist on the old with The Ring and with Final Destination and with Saw, and it's something that stands on its own. So Blumhouse, you guys are definitely doing horror
the player way.
So that's that. All right. And the third film that I saw this week was Rampage. Beat it up like Rampage.
All right.
It was better than I expected. Like, this is the week for films that were better than expected.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, there is no reason for you to not go to the movies before Infinity War comes out. There's a lot of really good stuff that's coming out right now that is surprisingly solid. It is not like last year where we got like Beauty and the Beast and we got like Power Rangers and stuff that was kind of hokey and very cartoony. You got some stuff out here that is going to last beyond this next 12 months. It's stuff that you'll want to go back and watch. And Rampage is one of those. In Rampage, it acknowledges that Rampage is a game within our universe. And the scientists that create this thing that cause these things to happen, they don't come out and say it, but like the guy who created it, the girl and guy who created it, in their corporate office, there's a coin up of Rampage in the background. So it's like, oh, okay, they're inspired by this thing. They never come out and say that, but they name the virus the RMG virus or something like that, and it's like Rampage virus. They say that. So it's understood without giving anything away that they were inspired by this thing. All of the beasts from the video game are in it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
They give you a good reason as to why they look so different and why one beast is bigger than another one. Okay. The Rock holds the whole thing together. This could have easily, to me, I compare this to the new school Transformers. It shows Transformers how to have humans in a film when all you really want to see is destruction and fighting between these beasts. Mm-hmm. And they show you, and you have to have a genuine connection. The human has to have a genuine connection with the beasts. And unlike Witwicky's family, which they eventually tried to fix it, they realized, oh, this kid doesn't know anything. He's not a part of the government. He's not a special ops guy. And they eventually try to bring in Mark Wahlberg to kind of fix that. And they even try to make the Witwicky family line have a tie-in with the beast. But it doesn't make, because they don't build the foundation of Transformers on the Witwicky guy being the right type of person, they have to bring in a lot of other characters to fix this character, and then they got to explain how this character interacts with these other characters. There's a reason why The Rock is involved with everything. You think he's a certain type of person at the beginning of the movie, and throughout the film you find out there's more to him than meets the eye, just like there's more to the virus than meets the eye. It has all of the notes of the classic coin-op Rampage video game. Yes. So you feel like yes, this is Rampage. And you want there to be another one. They give you a nod. There is no after credit scene, but there is a song at the very end by the Smashing Pumpkins, remade by Kid Cudi, that gives you an understanding of what could be the plot of the next film. And Rachel's the one who picked up on that. Nice. She was like, do you hear the lyrics in that song? And we listened to the song at the end, and she was like, that's going to be the plot of the next film. And I was like, you're absolutely right. My girl's doing predictions.
The player way.
And if you watch Rampage, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, really good, solid film. The worst part of the film are the bad guys. And we're finding out more and more and more that the key to a good comic live-action adaptation is the villains. The villains have to feel dangerous. Menacing. They have to feel dastardly. You have to feel like, in our world, evil has a face.
Absolutely.
You have to have a face of evil in these films, and the best films do well. In fact, part of what I love about Constantine, it's an underrated comic book film.
It is, dude.
But Michael, but Gabriel, actually it's Gabriel.
You're right.
Gabriel is like, okay, Satan does a great job in that film. Like, you these villains feel real to you.
I was talking about Constantine today. No, I have to mention, for you to bring up Constantine, 2005 film, Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Dude, that is one of my favorite comic book movies, just because
it's good.
It feels like this is happening in the other side of America right now, this second, and we just don't know about it. It wasn't I'm not taking anything away from Marvel Studios, what they've been doing, but it's harder to believe New York City was destroyed, and then I'm supposed to believe that Jessica Jones and them just don't talk about it. Like, you felt like Constantine, there's for real, like, angels and demons, and he's just having to deal with it and go on about his day. Now, I'm not trying to cover this up. If you believe it, and it leads to kind of like the hot sheets, you know what I mean? Like,
in my opinion, after the Dark Knight trilogy, I really feel like the second, I put all of those as like one film. So if we were to consider that as one film Dark entry, Knight. The second best entry offering of a live adaptation to me for WB is Constantine, because it's like you could put that into Justice League Dark as a film and that would work. Keanu Reeves cast it as Constantine in Justice League Dark as a live action. I want to see that movie.
Say no more.
Because Constantine works. So my point in all of that is you got some of those same things going on here, but the problem is the villains don't do so well. Malin Ackerman, you know her from Watchmen, which I would say is like maybe the third best WB film adaptation. She played Silk Spectre 2. Mm-hmm. She plays an actress. She plays like a big bad in this film, but she has the worst wig of all time, and it's like so distracting. It's like this is not real hair, and for a woman to have as much money as she has, why does she have such a terrible lace front? Just dye her hair, or just let her use her regular hair. Why is your sewing have a split? Why is your sewing terrible, dude? But what happens with them? You hate them. What happens with them in the film? It sets up perfectly. So I don't know. That's the reason why I still will give this a solid 4 out of 5. Okay. Because and every time, and when I watched this, I was like, Derek, this is right up his alley. It's that classic monster film. It's got that Godzilla.
Rim. I feel like this is say no.
It's got that Godzilla. It's got that.
And you know what I liked about Godzilla is kind of what you were talking about, where you just feel like you are just around and there's monsters going on. Like, we can't do nothing about it other than just hopefully try to survive and watch out for falling rubble. I like that happens.
That happens in this film. It happens in this film.
I need to go.
All right, leave it at that.
Boom, it's going down.
It's going down. But anyway, and evidence that I'm right when it comes to the box office. If you look at the box office on boxofficemojo.com, you want to go ahead and give them the weekend totals?
Yeah, man. You saw the top three movies. Coming in at number 3 was Truth or Dare at a solid 18, a little over 18 and a half at 18,667, which is a heck of an opening for a horror movie that came out in April. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's even a decent opening in October. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then Quiet Place actually having some very strong rigidity to even stay at a solid number 2 at 32 million. That's very impressive. Shout out to John Krasinski for 4 movies or 4 credits to being a director. I think he directed a few Office episodes and then like one other movie. And then Rampage coming in at 35, which, like you said, it's a monster movie. This is not normal. So for it to come in, do that, and you know, the Rock is the best action star right now around, and there ain't nobody that's touching this guy. Like, he has that other movie coming out where he has the prosthetic leg. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to see. You know, it's just
The Rock really holds it together. That's the great thing about this is whereas Mark Wahlberg and Shia LaBeouf in these types of films are like a distraction and why is this guy here?
Yeah.
The film doesn't work without The Rock. And also shout out to homeboy from The Walking Dead. What's that dude's name? He plays Negan.
Let's see.
It's Jeffrey something.
I'm looking at a Rampage.
Pulling that up for me?
Yeah, I'll get you.
Negan. I'm looking up too. It's Jeffrey something.
Right. Of course, now this is how life's gonna work right now.
No, you good. Jeffrey Morgan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
That's his name.
Gotcha.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in it. He basically plays Negan, but
so
with like
2
a
people
CIA
from
badge.
Watchmen are in this movie? 2 people from Watchmen.
Yes.
Okay.
Malin Ackerman. Look at you.
All right.
Look at you pulling that up. Cashing them coupons in,
That's
man.
right. Hey, man.
I like that. But yeah, indeed. Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Malin Ackerman. I didn't even catch that. And it's a WB film on top of that.
Boom. All right. Contrast.
And speaking of WB film, they have a character in this film. I won't spoil it for you, but there's a character in the opening, maybe 25 pages of this film, the first third of the film. There's a character that makes an appearance that you wonder for. It makes you're gonna Google if this character, because they don't mention his name at first.
Okay.
But you're gonna Google and wonder if if Rampage is a part of the Justice League. if he's a part of the Justice League universe.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna say, but the actor plays a character very similar to a character that you see in one of the Justice League films. I'm gonna say that. Okay, and you wonder if it's the same guy.
Okay.
For real. Even his makeup, you're like, is it this? And on top of that, And on top of that, there's a part where one of the people say, who will we call in to help us with this thing? Will we call the National Guard, the CIA, the DOD, the Justice League?
Yes!
They say that. And it's like, is she joking?
No.
Or is this in the Justice League?
I'm already, even though I haven't seen, I'm already on board 100% that it is. I'm just going to say it is.
This character, and they still could have this character. They say this guy's name, and it's not the character,
but aliases
that we
are
know,
coming in.
But it could still be him, and you don't know if he died or not. That's the other thing. Is like you don't know if he's dead. So it's. I would really love to see what they do with that, because they could easily bring this into the DC universe, but we'll see. But that's enough about those films, and we also just gave you guys the rundown, the box office hustle for this week. So with no further ado, what we're going to move forward with is our top 5 horror films, unless there's something else for the good order that you have.
Hey, I'm ready to roll with it. You got
Let's
me all fired up.
Roll on one.
Yeah.
Roll on one.
Let's do
exactly.
Well, what we can do first is we can, of course, because we have our excellent team of writers that put together their list and honorable mentions and top movies.
Indeed.
And
shout out to our homeboy over there, Ian Robert Parsons. Ian Robert Parsons, it was his idea to come up with a new series that we have on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. It's called the Top 5. The Top 5 list. We're going to do that every single week. And if you guys love it, we're going to give you even more of the Top 5 goodness. That's all I'm going to say for right now. But
just the first 5. Just the first 5. We'll see if you deserve the rest of it.
Exactly. So we're doing this leading up to episode 50, and who knows, we might do anything beyond this. So this week's Top 5 is about the best, the top 5 horror films of all time. And what Derreck's going to do, he's going to read you the top 5 that are writers. Shout out to Larry. Shout out to Bink. By the way, Bink had a car accident this past weekend. Bink, hopefully you're on the mend there, and hopefully you get a better Uber next time. Same thing with Ian Robert Parsons, of course, the guy who's in charge of that. Jay, Daniel, Ian Wolf Townsend, Darius, Alex, even though we haven't heard from him this week. Everybody who's on the team. If you are on the Play Your Way network, we appreciate you guys for voting in every week. So this list is curated by a bunch of writers, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the picks, and we're going to season this end of the episode in with Derreck and my picks, as well as in peppering in a little bit of Nate's, even though he had to work tonight. We got his list as well. So Derreck, with no further ado, give it to him.
All right, the honorable mentions, and as in no particular order, but I am definitely going to start with this one because it was directed by the master of suspense, the master of thriller, the guy that really got you feeling horrific. And it's Psycho, which is a great choice, great film. It still holds up. I mean, yes, it's an old movie, but it holds up for that suspense. It
still holds up. It was that was the first film that the bad guy was there with you the whole time.
And exactly. And you were surprised. I mean, that's pop culture at its finest. We have Get Out, written and directed, of course, by Jordan Peele. Great movie. Great suspense thriller. Also have The Strangers. Now, this was a good movie. Home invasion movies are terrifying to me because it happens. The idea of, and that may be something we discuss a little later on the show. We have, of course, Saw, which is a wonderful horror film.
Franchise.
Yeah. 7 is on there as well. Insidious.
Now, 7 is more of a mystery.
I don't think 7 is a
mystery
horror
suspense.
Film.
It's not really a horror film, and
it's a cop drama thriller.
Again,
you know what I mean?
It's a mystery suspense film.
Yeah,
it's a mystery suspense film.
There may
mystery
be
is different. Mystery is one of those films where for example, let's take Scream for example. Scream has that mystery suspense action with it. However, it has the body count. It has the indiscriminate killing aspect.
The lesson there.
The lesson, the cautionary tale.
Don't pick
it
on the
also
retard.
has that. Yeah, I mean, you name it. It's got all of those things, and it's got that big bad that at any time could be standing right next to you and kill you. Exactly. 7 has some of those things, but the thing is we're not the person who's watching the film. We're omniscient, so we're not from the. We're not privy to the same terror that
they are. That the characters are.
Like
it's as much as a horror film.
When they kill somebody in the film, they're already dead by the time you see them.
Exactly. It's as much as
like
a
you're
horror
never
film
in danger as a viewer. There's never because that's what the jump scare is all about. It's for you to feel like you're being hunted down. That's the reason why when you go back to A Quiet Place, it qualifies as a horror film because there's a couple of scenes in there that you're holding your breath along with that lady in that bathtub. Exactly. You're like, what happened? Exactly. You know, like, what is going to happen? But yeah, I mean, 7.
I would view this like the Bone Collector. You know what I mean? It's like the Bone Collector.
Yes, it's exactly like the Bone Collector or the Stranger.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. Or no, the Watcher. I meant to say the Watcher. The Watcher.
Oh, I thought you meant the. Oh, okay, I thought you said the Stranger.
The Watcher. The Watcher is.
That's a good one.
Suspense.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, so but keep on with the list.
Keep on going. We got Insidious. Now that is a damn good horror film. That one reshaped it with low budget style. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like big theatrical effects.
They went back to Faust. They went back to Faust with this.
The scene at the table when you're wondering about it, and then you look and he's right behind him, and you just see that red face. Like that's a great horror film. Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I feel like that has to be on there.
To me, that's better than Night of the Living Dead, in my opinion.
It is because it is there. That's why fight us. It 1990 and 2017. I definitely put 2017 ahead of the 1990.
Yes, of
just
course.
Because 1990 was made for TV and 2017 was made for the theater. Simple as that. They're two different movies almost.
Yes, they are two different films.
Yeah, and
experiences. They're two different experiences.
Exactly. We got Friday the 13th, which is
the original.
The original, where it was kill.
Where Jason was not the killer.
Exactly. It was same. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Another master of suspense and horror enthusiast is where this one comes on. Devil's Rejects. Now that's Rob Zombie.
I got a story about that film.
I love that.
I got a story about this film. If you would indulge me for a second, it's worth the laugh.
I would.
It'll tickle your funny bone. All right. So when Rachel and my wife and I, when we first got together, I was very religious. I was like a youth leader. I used to, be in charge of the music ministry at a Episcopalian church at the time. In my dorm, I had like a ministry thing. I used to wear the Jesus t-shirts, everything. I used to be all about it. All right. I'm so far from that now. But at that time, I curated what I saw. I was very careful about watching certain things. And my wife, she was like, hey, there's this new movie. We had just gotten together. We hadn't even been together a full year. And she was like, I want to see this cool film. And I was like, cool. She's like, who is it? And she was like, it's by Rob Zombie. At that time, I'm like, I don't know.
Scum up the yuck.
Exactly. So I was like, all right, we'll go see it. I had never seen A House of a Thousand Corpses. I had never seen anything by Rob Zombie yet.
Man,
and
House of a Thousand Corpses. I like that one personally.
She takes me to go see this film. This film was so visceral.
Man.
In that hotel room.
Man, that's exactly
on the big screen. I damn near walked out of the film. And when the film was over, we almost broke up. I was like, what? I said, who are you? Like, who raised you? Exactly. Like, who the fuck are you? I was like, what? I was just so upset.
What did I do to you to make me watch this? What did I do to cause this? Wow.
Like, I had the same feeling that I had when I saw Passion of the Christ, which to me is an honorable mention for horror films.
Man, that's a great movie right there. Mel Gibson did it.
He sure did.
He did it.
Man.
Who is your king now?
That film, Devil's Rejects, when Ian said Devil's Rejects, and I had to give it, he's the one who put that one on there as honorable. I was like,
nice.
We had a talk about that one when he said, I was like, yeah, Devil Rejects. If you've not seen Devil Rejects, you got to go back and see it.
Yes, you got to.
Rob Zombie is a brilliant director, and we're going to talk about him a little bit when we get to our top 5 lists.
Absolutely, we need to. Oh,
exactly.
All right. You want to hit the
honorable mentions?
I'll give you my honorable mentions. Definitely, I have a few. As you know, with the theme, I always have so many that come to mind. I feel like originally, first of all, I have to say this movie because almost in any classic horror movie or even current ones, this movie is almost always playing in the background because you have to give it an honorable mention, and it's Nosferatu, like one of the original horror films. You have to give this just like along the same lines. Like I feel like I have to also give Freaks an honorable mention. It's one of my favorite. Gloopin', gloppin', gleepin', gloop. One of us. But a couple other ones. This is the one I was mentioning to you. I wasn't sure if I should have it on the list or my honorable mention is World War Z. I feel like it's just more action adventure before it's horror, even though there are horror elements in it. But I will tell you, I
would say it's more of a post-apocalyptic film.
Yeah, like if you look it up, they give it action adventure before, but even so, like I can't put it on here. But I put it on here just because it maintains zombies and
it is a zombie film.
But I will tell you this, if you have not seen Train to Busan, BK, it is a Korean film, but it is World War Z but on a train. You know what I mean? And it's stressful. It goes a little bit further than World War Z at some moments where like there's some hard things to watch in this movie where I'm like, okay, like it's on Netflix. Shout out to Netflix, so you can get that. But running through it, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, great film. Poltergeist, it terrified me as a kid. Doesn't hold up these days, but it terrified me as a kid.
2 is the one that did it for me.
Poltergeist.
The bathroom scene.
Get out! Get out. I just got goosebumps. No. It Follows. I think that was a great.
It Follows is so good.
So good. Great.
Oh
great
my
idea.
God.
It probably helped inspire Truth or Dare.
Good.
I bet you it helped inspire Truth or Dare. And and one of the ones that comes together for me is Cabin in the Woods. That was a great freaking movie. Cabin in the Woods. Like one of the most off-color horror movies you ever watched, but it definitively is a horror movie, and you can't help it
is the horror movie that does the blazing saddles at the end.
Yeah, it does. And it
where
actually
the camera
does.
pans up and you're like, oh, this movie is so much bigger than the setting that it's in.
Ginormous.
And that's all I'm going to say. Because I don't want to give away Cabin in the Woods.
If
the
you
ending
haven't
to Cabin
seen
in the Woods, there's so much of a good payoff with Cabin in the Woods that you're like, oh,
I remember when I went to see
that's what the poster was talking about.
I remember when I went to see it, I literally thought I stepped into the wrong movie at the beginning of it, and then I realized, nope. I'm buckled in. I'm strapped in. I am glued. It's a great, and it has
Cabin in the Woods
rewatchability on that too. Rewatchability definitely. You can't help but enjoy it. And I still want that coffee cup that he had. I want that coffee cup.
Yes.
But yeah, those are my honorable mentions on there. What you got, man?
My honorable mentions. I definitely got to put Alien on there.
Absolutely.
The first Alien is good. Even though it's more of a sci-fi than a horror film,
but it's terrifying.
That's why I didn't make my top 5, but it is a horror film because the chest burster is what makes it. At any time, something can just bust out your chest. That what puts you right there in the seats. You're sitting there, you're having a great, meal. Yep. You thinking this film is going to go in one direction, and all of a sudden, the first chest buster scene of all time. When that happens, you're like, oh. That breaks all the rules.
This is a thing that
can go down like this. Yeah. At any time, it can go down like this. So yeah, that's that. Reaching way back is a deep cut. Hotel Hell. Okay. Yeah, Hotel Hell. Old King Cole was a merry old soul, and a merry old soul was he. I always remember that sound.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hotel Hell. If you've not seen that, that's a deep cut. You definitely got to go back and watch that. The Omen, the original Omen, is also an honorable mention. There's so many honorable mentions when it comes to old school. Definitely got to go back and watch Eating Raoul. If you've never seen Eating Raoul, it's almost a comedy, but and that along the same line, The Mad Butcher goes along with that as well. Real old school horror films, and then definitely got to give a nod to The Birds.
Oh yes,
You got to give a nod to the birds. That relentlessness.
It gave me
the birds
fear
are the
about
original zombie movie.
It was, dude. It gave me a fear of phone booths just because I'm like, I can't ever get trapped in there because it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Anytime you see 5 or 6 ravens or black,
no, I'm not about that
birds,
life.
whatever,
I'm going the other way.
That are in like at the grocery store between you and the door. There go the birds.
No,
you see them on you see them on the power lines. A bunch of them, especially in Dallas, Texas, mockingbirds. Man. You look up, the birds, the birds,
them grackles.
Exactly.
What you know about
and then
grackles?
finally, my final honorable. Well, actually, I got Chucky. Another honorable mention. Child's Play, the original Child's Play, and then of course, this did not make my list. Neither one of these actually made my list. These are at the top of my honorable mentions. My number 6.
Yeah.
6 and 7. You do the math on who you think which one is better than the other. It's going to be Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Neither one of those made my top 5 list. It was a tight list.
That's tight.
But they didn't really quite have the scare factor. They're awesome films, but neither of them really scare you. You know what I'm saying? Friday the 13th didn't scare you. And maybe because we're a little young, maybe we missed that boat, but I was never afraid of Freddy Krueger.
I never was
Freddy Krueger was funny.
I never was, and I'm the same way. I never was scared from Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Just don't go to Camp Crystal Lake.
But Poltergeist scared me. Those type of movies.
Yes,
like
Poltergeist. Yes, Poltergeist for sure.
So yeah.
Possession movies. A good possession movie will make the list. Always.
And I will say that I will say a great possession movie will definitely make this list. On here, I can't wait, and I feel like maybe this could be something we revisit by decade. Just because
we will,
it's hard to do, man.
As we continue the top 5 list, we can come back and we can get even deeper with it. All right, so let's get on. Nate,
you can give him more than that 5, huh?
So did you already did the top 5 for the guys? Did you give? Let's go ahead and give Nate's top 5.
I did honorable mentions first, and I was going to
got you. So let's go with the guys.
Okay,
go from the Play Your Way Network top 5 first, and then go to Nate's top 5.
Network 5 is number 5 is The Shining. Of course, It's a great, and man, that's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Special mention to the 2010 release as well. Paranormal Activity. I'm a little surprised that it made it this high on this list. Now, this was a really cool movie, and definitely, man, this busted it wide open for found footage movies all over the place again. Like this,
they had tried to do it before.
Yeah.
But this movie taught you how to do it.
This said, all right, I see you, Blair Witch, but this is how it's supposed to be. Alien definitely made this cut. And Halloween was special mentioned in the 2007 release because Rob Zombie did his thing in the I like the remake better than the original, and that's hard for me to say.
Are we coming back to this one?
Man, I will never forget that scene of stomping.
Just save it. Just save it.
I'm going to save it.
We coming back.
All right, but that's the boys. That's what they got there.
And then let's do Nate's in between ours. So let's start with Nate's number 5. Mm-hmm. Did he have any honorable mentions on his list?
I'm not sure. No, okay. He might have sent that straight to you.
Okay. Let me pull that up. A quick second. Sorry, I thought you had that ready to go. My bad.
No. Because I was saying earlier he sent it, and the last thing I saw was you requesting that. So I didn't. I don't know if he sent it directly to
something. Let me see. Nate.
But while you're looking that up, you want me to start with number 5?
No. Let's do his first.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he did have some honorable mentions apparently.
Okay,
all right. So going for his honorable mentions, he had The Frighteners, which that's a good one.
That's a really good one.
That's a good honorable mention, and then A Quiet Place.
All right,
it's a good honorable mention, and as we already said, we've given it a lot of adulation on this episode. Mm-hmm. But A Quiet Place definitely is a good one to note. You definitely, if you have not seen Quiet Place, you definitely need to go see it. We don't want to give too much of it away. We gave a little bit of it away, but at the same time, it really doesn't. Once you see it, you'll I can still watch that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you're watching that, you're definitely doing it.
The Player Way.
So going with Nate's list, here we go with his number 5, Saw.
Saw. All right. I mean, and Saw is a great movie. The only reason I didn't put this on my list is because A, there was the honorable mention, but B, it's I enjoy watching it, but just the rewatchability. It's the only thing that kind of pulls it back a little bit for me, just because. Exactly. And if you've seen it, of course you already know. If you haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been for the past 15 years of your life, and that's your bad. First of all, you've done yourself a disservice. For me,
a film can never top a top 5 if it doesn't have rewatchability. Mm-hmm. If you can't, if like all of the magic goes away with like a magic plot twist at the very end, and it just kind of flushes down the toilet like that key does in that bathtub when that guy wakes up in Saw, it kind of ruins the film, and there's nothing else. And it's what pushes, for me, a big twist like that is what pushes a film from being a horror film to a mystery suspense film.
Yep.
So like once the big reveal is there, it's like, is there anything there? And that's why when there's breadcrumbs all along, that's what makes a film, like for example, The Sixth Sense. What makes Sixth Sense rewatchable is there's stuff all throughout the film that tells you it's coming. There's motif everywhere.
Absolutely.
And so you want to rewatch it to see if you saw it coming. Whereas with Saw, there's no hints that you have no idea of what's going to happen next. So there are some Saw films that are better than others. I think Saw 3D is a little bit better in terms of watchability.
And I like Saw 2.
Rewatchability,
Saw 2
but the first Saw is hard.
First Saw was incredible.
Yeah.
But
I see why it's his number 5. Shout out to Nate. Number 5. Derek, you're number 5, bro.
My number 5 comes in with the film that there were some scenes in there that were hard to watch, and it was stressful, and it makes me not want to be in the New Mexico desert ever Lost, and it's The Hills Have Eyes. That movie movie was sick. It was sick. Like, it was just one of those. I like a movie where I have a feeling where I'm like, I feel like I was like Alpha Dog. If I feel like I witnessed some shit and I need to report what I just saw, that's a good film. And The Hills Have Eyes The Hills Have Eyes, again, it goes into that cautionary tale motif. Absolutely.
Where it has a way of explaining why we're afraid of the unknown.
Absolutely.
Similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's that being on that road trip and deciding to stop off at that shady gas station. And you shouldn't stop there, or you knew you should have gassed up before you got there.
Yep.
Have your eyes on the road, have enough gas, have an extra tank in the back, and don't thumb away. It's like
simple as that.
Jeepers Creepers does that as well.
Yep.
It just really plays upon that fear of what could happen to me in the middle of the desert. And The Hills Have Eyes is one of the best. Oh, well, this is what's in the hills. This is what's in their hills.
Yeah, that's right. And you don't want to get lost in them their hills.
Number 5 for me is Paranormal Activity.
All right.
For me, I couldn't put it at the top of my list because the rewatchability of this particular one, it's not there as much. What makes Paranormal Activity rewatchable is the other installments, and I think Paranormal Activity 2 has a little bit more rewatchability, and even down to where you get to the marked ones, there's a little bit more of like giving you droplets throughout the film to make you help construct this universe. But Paranormal Activity, the reason why it made my top 5 is because of all of these films. It is the only film that scared the shit out of me for weeks. Because if you, like me, watched this film when it first came out, and let me give you a little context.
This is back in 09.
I went to school in college in a little college town called Columbus, Georgia. The only thing of note in Columbus, Georgia is Fort Benning, where it's the home of the infantry, the military. So, there's not much there other than Columbus State University, and there's more there now, but at the time, again, 09, it seems weird, but YouTube was not what it is now. Cell phones are not what they are now. Google even is not what it is now. So when you went home and Googled this, first of all, they couldn't find stuff.
Yes.
This was one of the first films that had viral marketing to where they created like website for things that were in the film that looked real. So like when they looked at, they had found footage within the film that they looked at to do research on what was going on in their house. And there was little stuff online, breadcrumbs, that you were like, no one really knew if like, you knew this was a movie, but it really bled that blurred that line really well.
They did it.
There
so
was
well.
no credits. There were no credits to this film.
It was just
there, and if you were early like I am, and I'm still one of those guys who was an early adopter of film, you didn't know, and you went home, and you didn't know what was going to happen. You know, I lived with a white girl. I lived with a white girl then. I told her, I said, listen, you ain't got nothing that, your family ain't got no history I don't know about, right? You know, it's like, I don't know. You know,
it was
it's
stressful,
like,
man. It was a stressful movie. It was one of those also, you had to be quiet. You had to request it to get in your area. Do you remember that?
Yes, you did.
Demanded
Yes,
to
you
be
did.
in your city.
And when it finally came to our, we were not one of the first ones. We were not one of the first places that had it. So when it finally came there, we were like, all right, now let's see. Nobody knew. Nobody knew what was going on. It was a glorious time. There was no Instagram. You know, it was like, you didn't know. Twitter wasn't what it is. It was just real. And when you went home, you were like,
it really...
It was kind of hard to, and even the second one, like when you went home after the second, like, man, that, like that, you know, when the girl is like, when she's standing over Mika in the bed, and it's like fast forwarding through the night.
That type of shot, I don't know what it's specific, like other than just time lapse. That is always creepy. It is always creepy.
And then you see her slowly moving back and forth
because that means she actually stood there. You know what I mean? No, man. You can't be standing over me for 2 hours.
The effects were so well done that you couldn't tell it was CGI. There was only one time in the movie where you knew it was fake, and it was at the very end. Yeah. That was the only thing that happened that was like fake looking. Mm-hmm. But everything else, I mean, when you have the Baphomet dude walking on the floor and you see the steps with the powder.
Yeah, that's stressful. And that's what also makes a great horror film is you don't have to show that much. The implication of horror, the sounds in the house, because we've all had those moments where we've heard something and you don't want to go check it out because your imagination is terrifying. Like one of my favorite short horror films was Lights Out before they tried to make it on the silver screen. Lights Out as a short horror film is extremely stressful because you're like, yes.
I think.
You know,
I don't even want to spoil it. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not even going to say
it.
Go
the
watch
covers
it.
And you can hear it clicking on and off.
Yes,
man.
Like this did it because you're in bed. You've been in bed with your partner and heard something, and damn it, I'm the guy. I have to go check this out. I don't want to go. Now a pot fell in the kitchen, and I'm upstairs, and I don't have any pots hanging.
Bro.
No, the pots are in the drawer. I'm not going downstairs. We're waiting until daylight.
When all the pots and pans just come out of the cabinet.
No, man.
Whoosh. No, now when you go in the kitchen and a door in one of the cabinet doors is open,
it's a wrap. It's a wrap. No, you didn't close that. Did I close? No. See, movies. That's another thing that scares me about Poltergeist. If a light is on in a room and the door is closed, like in the closet, I'm not going in there because I know it's a portal to downstairs. And like Poltergeist. No, man. Put some baby powder in front of the door every night. Every night.
As much people, I'm telling you, Paranormal Activity. We're gonna wrap that up. Paranormal Activity preys upon one thing and one thing only. People want to act like they're not afraid of the dark. Everyone is afraid of the dark. No matter how old you are, no matter how gangster you are, everyone is afraid of the dark. And your brain is designed to create...
Absolutely. That's why...
You can see stuff in the darkness.
That's right. That's what your brain does. That's
no
why
matter
some people...
I don't care who you are.
Going in this
the darkness
room.
will bring the bitch out of you.
It sure will.
I promise you.
Why are you talking to yourself in there? I'm talking to myself until I get to the light switch. Do you mind?
And you know, we grew up in the city too. So like my wife, she loves to be out in the country where it gets dark. Because you know, out here in Atlanta, you know, we got trees and stuff, so it gets dark at night. Man, I got to have a nightlight, bro. It can't be in the darkness.
No, man, I need to see
keep
something.
a light on.
At least let me see the demon. At least let me see the demon before I get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want to be
Why you think I love having Alexas all over my house, boy? Turn lights on easy.
Yep, that's right. Play some music. I don't know.
And we're going to wrap that up just like that. Moving on along to number 4. Nate's number 4 is It. And I believe his It is going to be the new one because he originally, if you
I don't think he saw the original,
he never really saw the old It.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the new school It. And combining that with my number 4, we're going to go out of order. My number 4 is It as well.
All right, nice.
So if you want to go ahead and go with your number 4, I'll come back to this one.
Yeah, no problem. My number 4 is a possession style movie. It's very under the radar. Priscilla actually introduced it to me. I saw this a few months back.
Is it Devil Inside?
It's not. First of all, I love that movie. It's not the devil inside, but I own the devil inside, and I put
devil
this.
Inside's good.
This is on par with the devil inside. Okay, if you haven't seen it, it's called the Vatican Tapes. The Vatican Tapes. You've seen that?
Tapes is good.
Yes, the Vatican Tapes
is good.
The Vatican Tapes is good because you've got the exorcism.
It is right there with devil inside,
and then the way that it ends. The way that it ends is the way that the thing that brought it home for me because I'm like, this.
Hey, we got to give an honorable shout out. Honorable shout out to the possession of Emily Rose right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
The only time I was okay with Jennifer Carpenter as an actress because I hated her on Dexter, which means she's a good actress. So that's I'm like, dude, the exorcism of Emily Rose, her contorting her body like, stressful. Woo!
But the
I
Vatican
see a top
Tapes,
5 possession
definitely
films.
possession. So we got found footage is like number 5's arena kind of, and then we move up. And then you got Hills Have Eyes as well. You got that the unknown, and then you go up to possession. So we got different categories. Possession is definitely one of those.
The reason why I loved Vatican Tapes, like I said, I mentioned the ending, which I'm not going to spoil that. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the part that brought it home for me. And honestly, just the whole exorcism scene. I was sweating. Yes. I'm like, this is stressful.
If there's one thing that makes you believe that God is real, it's possession movies sometimes.
And this movie does it very, very well.
Yes,
very well. And that's all I'm going to say about that. If you have not seen this movie, go watch it. It's on Amazon. You can just go hit play on that. It's definitely worth it.
Get it. Vatican Tapes.
That's
Devil Inside. All those.
Devil Inside, man. When you were describing Truth or Dare, and I was like, Devil Inside, man. No. Hey, come with me. I know the good place. No, we don't know the good place. I want to go where the tourists are.
Never go with that guy.
No, never go with that guy. Ever.
Exactly. Moving along. So come back to we said number 4. He said it. Nate said it. It's the new school, and I say it, the new school as well. And I'm one of those guys who really love the Tim Curry version of it, but this new it is something else. Man. It is something else. It is to me. It is a better Fears, Dreams, film than any Freddy. Of the Friday the 13th films. It does exactly what Friday the 13th does, but with a much more threatening and scary villain.
Absolutely.
Clowns are not nice. They're evil looking.
No one likes clowns, man.
Shout out to John Wayne Gacy. It's just, you can't do it. You can't do it.
He was putting the lime in the coconut. If you can.
I'm telling you, dude, the lime up under the floorboards, bro.
Yeah, you
got smell.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, don't worry about that. I'm making margaritas with these boys.
I'm telling you, bro. But no, that's my thing is it really plays upon your fears. When you're a kid, this idea that there's something in your closet, the boogeyman, this thing that knows exactly what you're afraid of. And as an adult, you feel like you can overcome your fears. But when you're a kid, I remember Brandy, shout out to my sister Brandy. I remember she gave out a blood curdling scream one night because she swore there was something in a closet, and she could swear. Or like when we were walking home from Albertsons after getting some really good chicken out in Oak Cliff one day, and she saw a hose that was just happened to come unplugged from like something, and it was still moving in the ground because water was going through it, and she could have swore she saw a snake. And the way she just screamed, I'm telling you, like that.
Those movies that play upon what your brain can project is true, and it does it so well.
Your mind makes it real.
Your mind does make it real, and it's perfect because it knew what everybody's fear was, and then it played on it perfectly. And then even as you're watching this movie, you're like, you know what? If I was in this situation now, like I don't want to be in this situation.
And what I love too is it plays upon the fact that like in real life, when you have more people around you, it's that campfire feeling. Mm-hmm. You feel safe when you're around other people. Now, Friday the 13th is all about that thing you heard in the woods. It's real, and it's coming to get you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So all you got to do is stay away from the woods, and you'll be fine. That's the reason why it comes to your house.
Literally.
It comes to Main Street.
It comes to work.
It don't
comes
stay
to
at
walking
Elm
to
Street.
work.
It comes to anywhere you need it to be.
Yes.
And don't think you can just grow up and get away from it, because it's coming back.
That's right.
They definitely got some. They said Jessica Chastain is going to be playing the redheaded girl.
Is it for real
in the
now?
upcoming
Is this
film.
for real?
Yeah, that's what
confirmed?
they're saying,
Okay.
dude.
Okay.
That's good acting, dude. They on their way.
Hey, man.
So anyway, I agree with Nate. Shout out to Nate. He and I both have it as number 4. Moving on to number 3. Number 3 is a film that we've actually kind of mentioned already from Nate. And his number 3 is The Sixth Sense.
All right.
I said it. And I hadn't even seen his lit, but I said, of the gimmicky film, The Sixth Sense is the one that's rewatchable. Because when you rewatch that film,
You're still
the
looking for
signs
those
were there
breadcrumbs.
the whole time.
Absolutely.
It's right there. You can see the film that made Donnie Wahlberg a commodity again.
A freak, man. He played that
Been
part
freaking.
so well. Like, yes, exactly. Like, he got the roles in Saw because of what he did in Sixth Sense.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, man, to the fact that right now, I'm sure somebody here is like, Donnie Wahlberg, he wasn't in Sixth Sense. Oh, yes, he
sure
was.
was.
Oh, yes, he was. What? Where
He
was he?
set the tone for the whole film.
Man, the whole film. And it's one of those films like, you know, there's people out there that are going to say, oh, I figured it out here. I figured out this part. I challenge them.
Nah, nobody knew.
Because once you go back and watch it and you see the hints, you see, and this is, of course, this put M. Night Shyamalan on the map. He's still a good director. Like, yes, I know he does the twist. He's never
done this.
He's never
again.
done this again.
Still.
Man,
Still.
He
came close
with
his newest film.
Oh, okay.
He came close.
Yeah, it was Split.
But he's never been able to do it since.
Like this, man. And
Never.
just red. The color red.
Yes.
It's incredibly done. It tells you the cerebral nature of what he was even going for to even freak you out even more.
That film set the tone for horror films and really film in general for the 21st century. Like films looked a certain way before The Sixth Sense. Mm-hmm. After Sixth Sense came out, Sixth Sense and The Matrix are two films that really set the tone. Mm-hmm. And I'd say Jurassic Park as well.
Of course.
But, you know, those are... But I would for sure
like because
these
of
two
these
for the 21st
movies,
century.
you get to see these other type of movies.
Exactly, because you really people
Stir of
wasn't really
Echoes.
playing up
Stir
all
of Echoes
colors.
wouldn't have happened without Sixth Sense.
Nah, putting hints. I mean, from there on, the twist became like the new type of film.
Absolutely.
Like every film had to have a twist at the end, and even M. Night Shyamalan has been chasing that since day one, and he still has never been able to get his way back to it because you got to give enough to it to the point where. This film will spoil any other M. Night Shyamalan film because it teaches you every one of his films is going to have a twist. Absolutely. So you got to look for it now. Yeah, so it educates you on other films. And this film made me a better movie reviewer because I was like, I'm context clues.
Yes, you start looking at different things. You start being like, well, perhaps maybe this isn't just supposed to be on the corner of that table. Maybe that isn't his totem. Maybe it was his lighter the whole time and it wasn't the thing he's spilling. Maybe it's this. Maybe, you know, and this movie was remade. I don't know if you knew this, but this movie was remade. It had Nicole Kidman in it and it was called The Others. And I don't even know how they got away with it, but it was exactly like...
And it wasn't as good.
It wasn't as good because it had already been done 6 years prior and it was called The Sixth Sense.
And it was obvious. That one was obvious the whole time.
You just knew it.
The whole time.
I was never surprised at it. And but you have to... This is a great film. Great choice, Nate. Great choice.
Yeah. And I love that some of these films and these things we're mentioning remind me of other great horror films. Shout out to House on Haunted Hill, the new version of it with Taye Diggs in it. Great horror film.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
That
really
was.
good films. Y'all, if y'all don't have a good horror movie marathon after this episode, you definitely not doing it.
The Player Way.
That's what's going on. All right, so I guess we're at number 3 with you.
Number 3, I'll take this one. Now, this is a movie that you and I discussed. And you had mentioned that you wouldn't put it on your top 5, but I definitely will just because it holds up and the remake is incredible too. The remake is beautifully done and it's The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. And this,
I mentioned that. I mentioned that on our our phone conversation.
Yeah,
exactly. And I was hoping somebody else would put them on there because some of these other ones got to get some shine. And that's like, part of why. And if, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, it's part of why we do top 5 as a group, because it gives it's a way to kind of break and do ties for number 1, 2, and 3. So it gives you a flavor of like what else is also within that class. And The Thing for sure holds up for 100%. The old school Thing,
the old
definitely
school
still holds
is,
up.
and this is a movie that's 35, almost 36 years old, and the special effects that were done at that time are still completely disgusting. Practical. They are. It's incredible. Kurt Russell is it and plays.
You still don't know what The Thing is.
You still don't. You're just
day.
You're just watching it and you're stressed out. You're like, does this work against it? Is he a thing? Is she a thing? Am I a thing? They don't even know if they're infected because it's not like it's transmitted through a bite. It's just
And I'll give it to you a step further. I'll give it to you a step further. The Thing was such a brilliant film that people didn't realize there was a twist to The Thing until after The Sixth Sense came out.
Yep.
That movie made you go back and watch other films and say, what else have we been missing? It's only recently that people have really started. There's been some film buffs that always believed this to be true, but now it's become common knowledge that The Thing at the very end is still alive.
Absolutely. And down to the fact, as I mentioned, the remake came out in 2011. It does the original honor. It's almost just as good. And
I haven't seen that one yet.
You need to definitely watch that one because I have a feeling you've probably not watched it just because of the excellence of the original. But I assure you, this one is just it's right up there. It's right up there with it, and the special effects, of course, are incredible in this one. And it's definitely worth the watch. It does it justice. And I will tell you this: I'll sweeten the deal. It gives you even more of some seasoning to the original. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Boom. Sold to the man in the cowboy hat. Calico sheets. That's what's up. Let's do it.
Nice. Right. Number 3.
Number 3 for me is going to be Misery.
Oh, that was so beautiful.
Misery for me is one of the best horror films of all time because they do so much with so little. Misery is all cerebral. It's the killer is revealed at the very beginning of the film. You know something is up with her from the beginning. It is just known. And it goes into that Hills Have Eyes vibe where that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's the same type of film where you wander out into the wilderness where you shouldn't be on a cold winter's night that you know is not a good night to go out there.
You know it's
and
not.
You do it anyway, and you might end up in some crazy bitch's house that ain't gonna never let you go. Ever. And what's crazy about this film is it's like, well, horror films are traditionally about killing you and body count. There is no body count. It's implied that she's killed people before. But, like, it's the same guy being tortured through the whole film.
Tortured.
Films like Hostel are possible because of this film. Misery it's just like, it's angsty, it's true horror because there are jump scares. You know she's coming at any time.
And you're stressing right there with them. You're like, all right, she's at the store. She's at the store, man. Come on, dude. Come on,
and
man.
When he gets punished, you got to sit there and watch it. And you know it's coming, and you got to watch it.
And you just know, you're like, dang, would I have gotten caught? And like movies that you mentally are projecting yourself in, you're like, what would I do in this situation? How would I get out? And it's just like, it doesn't even, you just try, and he tried so hard.
And there is a body count in the ankles. People come and try to help him, but ain't none of his tapping.
Ain't no tapping in this. Dude,
and the worst part about it,
she was taking care of him
by his own design. Yes. He did it to himself.
Literally,
that's what's crazy. It's him. He did it.
Stephen King, man. Stephen freaking King.
Look, everybody want to give Eminem credit for Stan, but no. Stephen King came up with Stan. And Misery is Stan. If you have not seen Misery, you definitely need to go back and watch it right now.
That's
Kathy Bates, man.
Kathy Bates, man. She sure did. That's a great movie, man, and it holds up, dude. That's a good choice.
It
man.
does.
What's Nate
it holds
got?
up. It never gets old.
That's
Murder
right.
She Wrote turned upside down.
Yeah. What's Nate got? Number 3.
Number 2.
Whoa. What's Nate? What was Nate's number 3? Did we already say?
We started off with
6 6. Yeah, 6 6. My bad.
All right, so moving on, number 2. Number 2 for him is The Conjuring.
Oh,
really good movie,
man.
Really good movie.
Yes, and that was
really good movie. Not my number 2. Is it your number 2?
No, it's not my number 2.
Okay, just making sure.
No, you're good.
Really good film. All you got to say is the clothing line scene.
That's it. That's it.
That's it. That scene
that made
alone
my spine.
sold me.
That
scene right there is like, and that's the thing. These iconic films all have a scene that really
draws
sets
you
the
in.
Tone.
That's right.
It really helps you.
That's
like,
it.
oh, nope.
Yep. That's a big no. It's no. It's the sheets
It's a
scene
no for
in
me,
Texas
dog.
Chainsaw Massacre. It's running through the sheets. It's the clothesline in this one. It's a body splitting open in the thing. Yes. Great call on that one. Woo.
Yeah. So yeah, Nate definitely. I like The Conjuring on this one, dude.
And that one
Vera
opened up.
Farmiga does an amazing job in the acting. The subsequent films from The Conjuring are really good films. Mm-hmm. The Conjuring, to me, is kind of like hand in hand with Insidious. Like, these films
absolutely.
are all hand in hand.
They go together, man.
Somebody in a movie once said, and if you do this to me, we're gonna go to the and if you snitch on me, we gonna go to the police station, hand in motherfucking hand, handcuffed in motherfucking hand. Like, this is the same thing. Like, these films, you can't separate them. Yes, they don't happen together, but they feel like the same universe.
They do. Yep. I feel, yeah. And plus, they're based on real individuals. You know what I'm saying?
They're based on people who are the real Ghostbusters. Who
yes,
really did exist. Who to this day
Conjuring
swear up and
2,
down
man.
this happened.
Conjuring 2, man, was...
Conjuring 2, man.
Man, that whole scene in the hallway with old boy, the thin...
Anytime you go home and Google in the darkness, scared off your ass, if this really happened, it makes you go watch documentaries to see if this who are these people that they built this on.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you. And then they open up the door and there's a whole gallery of other things. And Annabelle comes from this.
Born from
a spin-off
molded
of franchise,
by it.
a universe. And yes, this is a universe film franchise. They just haven't given you all the rest of them yet. So, yeah. So there you go with that.
Nice. Great choice.
Your number 2.
My number 2, as I mentioned earlier, about home invasions are terrifying things.
Yes, they are.
This original movie came out 20 years ago. It was an Austrian film, and it was remade with what's her name from The Ring, Naomi Watts.
Yes.
Also had Tim Roth in it. And it's called Funny Games. I don't know if you've ever seen this, BK.
I've not seen that.
It is a terrifying movie, and it's extremely uncomfortable. Michael Pitt is in there. And it starts off a family going to their lake house, and then they're greeted by some neighbors who just aren't reading the room, and they're just kind of invading your space, but they're extremely polite. And then the night goes downhill from there. And it is one of those movies.
I might watch this tonight. Where can I find this?
You can, I believe the original, it might still be on Netflix, actually.
No, the one that you're talking about.
The original.
The one with Michael
The one
Pitt.
back in 97. Oh, the one with Michael Pitt is the one that came out in 07 with Naomi Watts and everything.
Okay. Where can I find that? That sounds...
I will let you know before the end of this show.
Yes, before the end of the show.
There are scenes in this film where it's one of those, any movie that you're like, what would I do in this situation, as I mentioned earlier, but this shit happens. People will knock on your door and push their way in and then sit there for 3 days and you can't call into work. And it happens out there. It happens where you're like, what's happening? Am I just going to, are we going to be here all night? I don't know, maybe, but we're going to play my games. And
it preys upon the fact that, like, as much as you want to say you're a badass and you kill somebody, until you push to the brink, people can prey on the fact that you're nice. It's part of why I train my family and my wife to not be so nice. Someone knocks on the door and you don't know them, don't answer the door.
That's right. At all. Like, it's old adage, you were told that as a kid for a reason. You know what I mean?
Somebody sends you a weird piece of mail, call the police. Don't open that bitch. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Amazon is where you can watch funny games, just so you know.
There you go.
But it's one of those, it's cerebral as well. It's not only stressful and a thriller and terrifying, it's also cerebral because every path that you're like, oh, well, just do this. Oh, it's already been thought of. Well, I'll just do... Oh, that's already been thought of. Oh, like, it's just one of those where you're like, all the exits that you think of in your brain, they already thought of and you're already planned it. And it's a great film. It made it to my number 2 because it's just unnerving, terrifying, like stressful. You just don't, and then I can't wait to have a chat with you after you watch this one just to get that hot sports take on it and just really go back and forth because as a family man too, it's one of those ones you can't
help. As we continue on with these, we're going to continue to give you context in case you have not seen some of these films to kind of give you some honorable mentions to go along with them. There's a film that was made in 2016 or released in 2016 called Hush. It reminds me a lot of what you're saying here as well. If you were a deaf person and you had a home invasion and the person was quiet, you'd have no idea.
Right, I just have to say, I don't like the fact that we're talking about home invasion and then somebody going to come home right now, open my door, and I forgot that I clocked it. And I'm like, I have goosebumps right now as we speak. I'm like, it's going down. It's going down.
It's going down right now.
I wasn't ready.
I'm telling you.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, dude. But yeah, Hush is another one of those films that is creepy. And
that's a good one. Hush is and it's on Netflix right now.
Yes, it is. It sure is.
That's a good one.
All right, so moving along to my number 2. My number 2, it's only the only reason why it's not number 1, like it was on the Play Your Way Network writers list, is because, in my opinion, there's a film that has done more for film and more for culture in general, as evidenced by subsequent films after it. But my number 2, which is it's up there, and I could hear argument for number 1, is Rob Zombie's version of Halloween.
Zombie's version.
Rob Zombie's
It made
Halloween.
Michael Myers more intimidating.
It what it did is the original Michael Myers is just he has no face. You don't know who he is, and you would think. The whole idea is there's this unknown person in a painted Richard Nixon mask that makes you wonder who is this person. But in Halloween, you find out who this person is and you understand why they are the way they are. And that's what's scarier, because not only are you afraid because this person is coming to kill you, but you're afraid because you might have been a person that helped create someone like this when you were a kid. And it teaches you, as a cautionary tale, he terrorizes kids when he's a kid, and when he's an adult, he terrorizes adults. It's just crazy. Like, he's an equal opportunity serial killer, and he goes from being the beginning of a serial killer to being something supernatural even by the end of the film. And it's scary to see that transition. And I'm waiting for Friday the 13th to have this. When Friday the 13th does this as a film, and they tried a little bit with the remake, but they didn't go far enough with it. Like, they explained why he knew archery and stuff like that. But when you go and find an autistic kid and you really go down the path of Friday the 13th, that's when that film is going to really come alive again, because that's what Rob Zombie did for this. He kind of deviated and went kind of weird in Halloween 2, but Halloween is
and it was so good. Raw and violent, and not and not excessively violent. It was violent in the ways that you hear about almost every day in crimes that actually happen. But
when you see it for him, like we mentioned House of Thousand Corpses, and we also talked about Devil's Rejects, Rob Zombie was
31,
very raw
Lords of
and
Salem.
visceral. But what
31 is good. Have you seen 31?
He got to Halloween. Say it again.
Have you seen Rob Zombie's 31 yet?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
It premises around carnival people who kidnap some people and keep them in a house and force them to play a game to get out. And it's Rob Zombie directed.
But by the time Rob Zombie gets to Halloween, he has learned to really craft what is scary. Man. Earlier in his career as a filmmaker, you could tell that the macabre is what he sees, and the gore is what he sees. That grindhouse kind of feel is what he thinks is terrifying. But then in Devil's Rejects, because you see that in House of 1,000 Corpses. Then when you get to Devil's Rejects, it gets a little bit more cerebral, but it's still very gory and very over the top. By the time he gets to Halloween, it's the slow, realistic, methodical, how a serial killing goes down, mixed with a little bit of supernatural by the end of the film.
Absolutely.
It's creepy. It's creepy, it's uncomfortable, and it's what would you do if you were in this scenario?
Absolutely. You know? And that's extreme, and it's one of those, like I keep mentioning, whenever something's stressful or like thriller or like suspense, it's like this one. I'm going to say the original Halloweens, they were scary as well, because you're just like you're hiding with the main character. This one, you're like, I don't think I could take this dude. You know what I mean? Like the original Halloween guy, you're like, I may be able to at least wrestle it away. This guy, he's going to be able to pick me up and throw me against the wall, and there ain't nothing I could do about it. And he can catch me, and he's stronger than me.
It like answers the question. You're like, original Michael Myers, you think he's just a supernatural thing. And so some of the fear of him goes away because of that. In this one, no, he's just so crazy and so coked up on like antipsychotic meds that like he doesn't feel pain.
Yes. And
he's
it's
on his pills and it doesn't hurt.
PCP. Angel dust. Like that's what makes
and
it
he's
terrifying.
Strong.
That's
when
what makes
when he kills the dude in the stall,
man,
he's just strong. No, that might be Halloween 2. Is that Halloween 2 when he kills the black dude at the truck stop?
Yeah,
I think that's Halloween 2.
Yeah,
but
the first one,
even
man,
in that one, when he
the first one when he was stomping
like,
that dude's face, that face, and then you just bone and bristle and bubble and guts and it's gone. When you just see the scene,
just sat up in his cell and worked out and got brolic. Just eating carbs and getting strong, waiting for the day he's gonna get out. Man, and he is guided by a magical fairy unicorn. It's like
on the in his hand, and that's the unicorn that he pushes in your body.
Telling you. Anyway,
you got me wanting to watch, man. You got me wanting to watch these ones again, man. That's good.
Telling you,
solid.
Dude. This to me so far, this has been my favorite top list because there's so many horror films.
There's so many.
I mean, if you're not into horror film, you might not be into film because horror films. That's where Alfred Hitchcock started.
It forces a director to break the fourth wall. You have no choice but to involve your audience. You can't just make a horror film just to watch like you can make an action film just to watch.
Yeah.
You have to involve the viewer. You have to cater to your audience. You have to, hey, what scares people? What really scares people? Their imagination.
Yes.
What can they imagine? Let me imagine somebody breaking in your house. That's scary. People lock their doors every day just because to stop the idea. Locks only keep honest people out. So if this dude wants to get in your house, he can get in your house and stomp your face. And
I'm watching that movie tonight. The one you talk about right now, I'm watching tonight. Move on to number one. All right, number one for Nate is going to be Paranormal Activity. We talked about this one already.
We gave that one lots of
It's not my number 5, but I understand why it's his number 5. If you know, Nate's Code of Honor is the movies he's watched the most.
Several times.
So he tends to be like, I watched these. Yeah. But yeah, I could see why. I could see why Paranormal Activity is like that first American-made horror film that hits all the notes of like Ju-On, The Grudge. That hits the horror, those foreign horror.
Don't you be dropping
notes.
no Ju-On over here?
Exactly.
Don't you be dropping no Ju-On? Okay.
Man, I'm telling you. So, Paranormal Activity, he's so stupid. Paranormal Activity is good. What's the one about? Is it Pet Epidemic? What's the one about the? It's got the girl from. It's got the girl from Dexter that you talked about earlier, but she plays this. It's about this virus that's in this apartment building, and she plays like a reporter.
Yes, Quarantine.
Quarantine is another
That's a good film.
Horror film, a good one. Quarantine, you want to see Quarantine 1 and 2 are pretty good. 2 is kind of hokey.
2's a little hokey, but the first
still
one
good.
The first one is incredible. You're stressed out. You're stressed out in there because you're all sealed up. Just the idea of being quarantined with
incredible,
the disease.
Huh?
It is incredible. Huh? It is incredible.
It is. Isn't it? It's like having the world in your hands.
It's.
I know you so well. Incredible. Back from the dead, exactly.
Back from the dead.
Exactly. So moving forward, before I get myself and yourself in trouble.
Just running on the beach, man. Just running on the beach.
Exactly. BAE watch. Exactly.
We're wheels off. Number one for Nate is
number one. What's your number one?
My number one.
Well, I know what your number one is, but let's talk about your number one movie.
You say that. Get out. Get up and get out. My number one, actually, I have someone very special specifically to thank who told me about this movie and what hooked me when they were telling me about this movie. This is back when I was a teenager. And there was a phrase that was in this movie that just stuck with me. And my best friend at the time, still best friend at this current time, is the one that told me about this movie, about some guy who shows up in a New England town just saying,
you love that movie.
Give me what I want.
Glad you love that movie.
Give me what I want. Century. And I'll go away. Storm of the Century. It's a Stephen King, of course, one of the masters of horror. This movie,
I want that one to be remade on the big screen.
It should be remade on the big screen.
He says at the beginning of the movie, he walks into the town and says, "Give me what I want, and I'll go away."
And that's
all you have to do.
That's it.
That's all you have to do, and he'll go away.
What makes this a great horror film is because, like many Stephen King horror movies, he always plays on that human raw nature, your lizard brain, the thing that you don't do. The thing that you don't think about, that you like to think that you're prepared for, the thing that happens when actually somebody demands you to pick one person to kill so you can save your family. The one where you have to make that choice, and that's what happens through this entire movie. And every choice that is made, it's like you feel it. You're like, oh, could I have had the gumption to do that? I don't know. And if you haven't seen Storm of the Century, it's still got the made-for-TV kind of feel to it. But the premise behind it, you can't help but be stressed out and be like, well, what would you do, Billy Badass? Tell me what you would do in this situation. You'd be getting an axe too and chopping up Miss Barry in the corner. That's what you'd be doing and going on about your life.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's so in case y'all didn't realize, shout out to BK Jackson telling me about Storm of the Century back in 9th grade. So thank you. And this movie has stuck with me for almost 2 decades now.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you always talk about it. Yeah. Honorable mention to go along with this one is a 2009 film called The Box.
Yes. That goes right with it, man. Would you press that button? Yes, you would.
Exactly.
Yes, you would.
Exactly. I mean, there's other films like it. Definitely, I'm telling you, if you don't have a good horror film to watch after this one, we just need to hang it up. But I'm telling you, there's some hurt bombs on this episode. I'm telling you.
Man, there are.
And rounding out my number one is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
The Shining.
Yes. Written by Stephen King. Such a good film. It is such a good film that if you've not seen Ready Player One, if you've not seen this film, don't go see Ready Player One.
Yeah,
because
you gotta watch.
It's all up in. I'm telling you, but
all
there's
in
so
the video.
much motif. There are so many levels to The Shining. The Shining has a labyrinth in it, and The Shining itself is a labyrinth. Yes. It is a horror film that has layers. If you get bored watching The Shining, then you are not intellectual.
Exactly.
There's so much going on in The Shining all the time to where to this day we still don't quite understand what happened. We kind of know what happened, but
it's cerebral.
That ancient Indian burial ground revenge, type stuff. You know, you build a church on top of it, and this is what happens. A good honorable mention for this one is Pet Sematary.
Yes, Pet Sematary as well. You just see that's what had me talk about decades, man. The 80s had some good horror films coming out. You know what I mean? The 80s was about horror
because they weren't
horror
afraid.
and pop stuff rock and roll.
Another. This is not a horror film. This is a sci-fi film, but it's something that I had to go back and watch this week. Jeff Goldblum's The Fly. Goldblum's in it.
Disgusting.
Fly. If you ever want to know, if you ever heard the phrase "be afraid," be very afraid. It comes from The Fly. That is the origin of
1986, and they play. That was another like the special effects for far beyond its time for that movie.
Exactly.
Like you
That's
were
a sci-fi
actually
film
disgusting.
that it's a sci-fi film that really should have been on my top 5, but I forgot about that movie until recently. And it was because of all the films I saw this week.
Brundlefly.
Yeah, Brundlefly, man. Woo! It made me think about it. I mean, it was like, man,
that might could be a horror. I mean, if Alien's an honorable mention, The Fly's got, you know what I mean? That's right with it, man.
Yeah, I mean, and here's why, because it goes after, if you've never read Franz Kafka before, he is
Metamorphosis.
The Metamorphosis.
What?
Exactly. Gregor Samsa woke up one morning and everything was different.
Man,
I'm telling you. I mean, it just, that's why. I mean, what's scary about The Fly is, what would you do?
Exactly.
What would you do in this scenario? You know you're going to die. Actually, it's worse than that. You're going to become something else.
Not in the good way. It's not the Peter Parker. Oh, sweet. It's the other side of Peter Parker that grew the 6 arms out of your ribs, and then you just But yeah, The Shining has elements of every film that we've talked about. It's got the jump scares. It's got the paranormal activity. It's got ghosts. It's got spirits. It's got the serial killer. A slasher.
It's got the haunted house. It's got it all.
Everything.
It's got
It's
got the Freddy Krueger. You know, everyone thinks Freddy Krueger came up with the whole jump scare of there's this girl that you thought was awesome looking, and you go to kiss her, and it turns out it's Freddy. No, that was in The Shining first.
Absolutely.
Like, everything that you think is super scary most likely either came from Alfred Hitchcock or this film.
Yep.
You know,
and even though Stephen King wasn't fully on board with how Kubrick did it.
No, he wasn't.
Kubrick, he did it, though. He did it. Like, that was a true artist, and even down to the fact where Stephen King has even publicly, like, appreciated it. Like, even if it wasn't what he thought, that to have
for what it is.
To have a man who has the vision like Stephen King, for him to go back and be like, all right, 40 years ago, I didn't know what I was talking about, but
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what you have to appreciate when you're standing next to a visionary. You know what I mean? You have to appreciate their vision and see, and just be like, all right, maybe I just can't see as far as him, but he can see past the horizon. And Stanley Kubrick saw past the horizon, where if this movie hadn't have been made, dozens, if not hundreds of other horror movies would not have even been a conversation.
And not only that, but other stuff. And Stanley Kubrick has a talent for unnerving you.
Yes.
Like, that is a word, unnerving. If you've not seen Eyes Wide Shut.
Clockwork. Eyes Wide Shut.
There are levels to sexual proclivities that are above and beyond. Even hitting on the idea that the person you're about to sleep with, who you want so bad, may have AIDS.
Yes.
You almost tasted that fruit that you wanted so bad. You even wanted that character to sleep with that person. You know inside your head you did. And when you find out that if he had did it, you would have had cancer, you think about yourself. Like, what does that say about me?
Yes. It's like that's what makes it a great film. Those films that beg those questions, those ones that you never mention to anybody else in life, but you seeing it on film, you're like, this is exactly what I would have done. This is exactly what I would have done. Or this isn't what I would have done. Is this an option? People do this? Yeah, man, that's a great choice for number one. I couldn't put it as my number one because I strongly felt that it would have been yours. So that's why I did go to Storm of the Century.
But I like Storm of the Century. That's a good one. I like that.
I don't know when the last time you saw it was, but seeing it as a grown man now, I see it in a different light where I'm like, You know what? If I'm just like the Mist, if I'm in the grocery store, no, man, fuck these kids, man. I'm hitting you with an axe. You getting it. I'm living today. I'm not dying today, and it's going down. Yeah. He said I need to kill 10 people so my family lives. Line them up. I'm putting this, boom, it's going down. Exactly. I want him to go away, so I'm going to give him what he wants. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't, man, it's a wrap. So shout out again to you for hooking me up with that one.
Hey, and shout out to all of our listeners out there who are listening along. Man, we've been going over the 90-minute mark. It's because we've been having some solid conversation. But hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, with all due respect, along with my co-captain, Derek.
That's me corrupting the system. You already know. Give me what I want, and I won't go away.
Exactly. Have appreciated what we've been doing here, and leading up to episode 50, also concurrently, or I guess not concurrently, I guess it would be
consecutively
by happenstance. We're also leading up to will be hopefully the biggest comic movie of all time. Avengers Infinity War is coming out around the same time as episode 50. So in spirit of that, next week's top 5 is not going to be about any film other than Infinity War. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, with all due respect, next week is the Avengers Infinity War top 5 kill list. Boom. We're going to be going down, figuring who is going to get it the worst, who has to go, who needs to know. You do. And we're going to give it to you
the player way.
Exactly. That's what's going on. So with if there's nothing else for the good of the order,
nothing
else.
Hey, man.
Keep our eyes peeled for.
Hey, man.
Actually, what's coming out in the box office this week?
Well, it is 420 weekend coming out, so we do have that precious Super Trooper. We got the Super Trooper sequel finally making it to film. Yes. That's definitely going to be the biggest one. Amy Schumer does have her comedy, I Feel Pretty, coming out.
That actually that might be the first one that I think looks good.
Yeah, it might be.
Trainwreck, I might have to go back and give it a second chance. Someone said if you're a big John Cena fan, you need to see Trainwreck. Because he's pretty much the star of that movie.
Okay.
But
there is
a big Amy Schumer fan.
The thriller, though, with Paula Patton making an Omar Epps, Rosalind Sanchez, Traffic coming out. It's a Lionsgate's release. Not much buzz about it. However, it is one of those under the radar
ones.
That
K at the end I can't get with.
Huh?
The K at the end of it I can't get with. Spell it right, black people. What is that?
Paula Patton trying to make her come back after.
Different. I get why they had to put a K on it because there's a better film
called Traffic.
Called Traffic, exactly. But name it something else.
Don
then.
Cheadle. That's right,
anyway.
Exactly. But yeah, that's really it.
Eyes peeled. But next week is all about Infinity War.
That's right.
So that's what we're going balls to the wall with. And then the week of Infinity War, Derek will be here live and direct. We already have our tickets for Infinity War, so we'll be doing a podcast here in Atlanta, and we'll probably be doing a live, not a live, but we'll probably do an immediate reaction to Infinity War, spoiler free, coming up. So you got an idea of our next 3 episodes. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, again, thank you so much. And no matter what path you take or what action you decide to do, follow. Just make sure you're doing it. Oh, messed up. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, with all due respect, I've been your resident podcast DJ BK, helping you understand how to curate your life in media, because no matter what actions you take or paths you decide to follow, just make sure you're doing it
the player way.
We'll see you next week.
Peace out, Rabbit.
There you go. Miss you, Nate. Thanks for listening to the Player Way podcast. Recorded in a single take from Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, by Nathan Peterson, Derek Lewis, and BK Jackson.
And I'm Darren Marlar, the majestic voice of the Player Way podcast.
Our opening theme is titled Bound by Ricky Remedy, courtesy of Elysian Records. And our closing theme is titled Coconut King Diaries by Xander.
spelled Zahnder. You can find this music by both Ricky Remedy and Xander, and many more tracks on SoundCloud. And remember, no matter what choices you make or paths you follow, just make sure you do it
The Player Way.
See you next week.